I was listening to a song this week. It's called Breaking Up Was Easy in the 90s by Sam Hunt. And it hit me kind of funny in this way that I wasn't expecting. The whole point of the song is basically that breakups used to be simpler, not easier emotionally, but cleaner. You didn't have to see what your ex was doing every 5 minutes. You weren't getting updates or photos or having memories pop up like, hey, remember this person that you're trying to forget? And I started thinking about how true that is. Even if you want space now, your phone won't let you have it. Social media won't let you have it. Even your camera roll is working against you. It kind of spiraled from there into this bigger question for me of how much of who we are is actually us and how much of it is just the world that we grew up in. Because the breakup example is just one tiny piece of a much bigger picture, I think. Like the way that we date, the way that we communicate, how we handle conflict, the way that we think about work, success, even happiness. It all feels very generational to me. So I got to wondering, are we really that different from each other, or are we just products of completely different environments and generations?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what intrigues me the most about this topic because every generation kind of looks at the others and goes, why are they the way that they are? Millennials get labeled as overly sensitive, entitled, can't commit to anything. Boomers get labeled as out of touch, emotionally unavailable, stuck in their ways. But when you really stop and think about it, it's like, okay, but look at the conditions each group came up in. Millennials grew up with the internet, with constant information, constant comparison, constant change. We were told we could be anything, and then also handed a world that's pretty unstable economically and socially. So, yeah, of course, we question everything. Of course, we pivot. Of course, we're a little anxious. We've been trained to anticipate change at all times. And then you look at boomers, and it's like they grew up in a time where stability and structure were the goal. You pick a path, you stick with it, you build something over time. So a lot of what we call personality traits might actually just be adaptations.
I think that's the part that gets overlooked the most because when I hear some of the things said about my generation, I can see where they're coming from, but I also know what it was like living in that time. We didn't have the same access to information. We didn't talk about emotions the same way. You were expected to figure things out, to be independent, to not question certain systems. And that shapes you. Just like growing up with technology and constant connection shapes you in a completely different way. So it's not just about who's right or wrong or who had it better or worse. It's about understanding that we were all formed under very different circumstances. And those circumstances don't just influence big things like careers or finances, they influence how we love, how we argue, how we cope, how we move on from breakups.
So today we're digging into what it really means to be a product of your generation. What shaped millennials, what shaped baby boomers, where the stereotypes come from, and where they fall apart. We also are talking about what happens when all of those different perspectives are sitting at the same table. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I'm Callie.
I'm Cole.
And I'm mom.
So, kind of the line in the song for me that really made me go, huh, is this a podcast episode? He says something about modern love leads to modern heartbreak. I'm just a product of my generation. And so I wanted to define what we think being a product of each of our respective generations actually is. In real life terms, what was the technology that was available and kind of the coming of age technology when you were growing up in your young, impressionable years?
I mean, the first computer I worked on was a DOS computer that you had to put, kind of DOS stuff into to open. It wasn't a Mac or an OS where you just, all your files were there and everything was uploaded to the cloud. I had floppy disk,
The
you
cloud,
know,
not the crowd.
that you probably don't even remember them,
We
but
remember floppy disks. We use them as frisbees, but we remember them.
well, no, those would have been CDs.
No, they were
Really?
Floppy
floppy
disk.
disks before the 3-inch disks.
Okay. I mean,
You mean the save button?
shut up. I mean, I didn't carry a phone with me. Certainly not when I was growing up. Nobody tracked me where I was at.
Did you have color TV?
Yes, you little brat. I had color TV. Although I
Just
will
trying to
say
set the
I
stage.
did look it up the other day because I thought y'all said something really wacky about how much a TV cost in today versus even in the 60s. And I was
$300.
dumbfounded that the price of TVs has not really changed in 30 years, although the technology has. Crazy. But yes, I had a color TV. I had one in my room. I had a TV in my room. It probably was black and white. I grew up on playing albums, vinyl. When I was a kid, that's how honestly, that's how we cleaned house Saturday morning. Mom would put a stack of LPs on and we would, as long as they played, we cleaned house. I didn't have Walkmans or music pods or anything along that line.
Your boomer is showing.
You ask me, I'm telling you.
Music
Yeah.
pods is not a thing.
Because I couldn't think of what it was called. What was it? The
An iPod.
iPods.
Oh, that didn't sound right.
Yeah.
Corded telephones?
I had corded telephones where you would, you could go into as far as the cord would stretch to get a private conversation. I did have friends who had telephones in their room, but they were just extensions. Every once in a while, somebody else had a separate number, but it wasn't very common.
And then Cole and I grew up with AOL.
See, I didn't really. I'm
Maybe
the
I'm
like
older.
the
I mean, I'm older than
yeah,
you.
you've got 5 years on me. Like, did I have an AOL Instant Messenger handle? Yeah. Did I use it for more than a day and a half? No. Did I talk to anyone on it? Not really.
I probably think of AOL Instant Messenger once a week going, oh, I really miss using lyrics as my like away message. That was the best. I wish we could go back to that.
That's
And
so
I
funny.
contemplate, I'm like, if I tweet the song lyrics, is that basically the same thing? And I decided that it is not.
I
I
mean,
bought
kind
my
of, but not quite.
But no, it's not.
I bought our first computer when you were a kid, Callie, when you were a baby, so that I could
Mhm.
write on it. But that was our first home computer. So that would have been in the, late 80s.
That we
Yeah.
likely ruined with illegally downloaded music and weird
Oh
shit.
no, that was before Napster
Yeah, that was,
I mean, I guess that's
and
true.
yeah.
LimeWire. That was
Yeah.
before
Y'all
we were
did
capable
Napster
of
on your own
breaking them.
products.
We did not do Napster on our own products. We did LimeWire on the main computer in the living room for sure.
Figures.
Yeah.
You had
Just
to be able
trying to
to
get
burn
your mom in
CDs.
trouble. Yeah.
We didn't
Yeah.
make it in a Pepsi commercial. We're fine.
Yeah. Your computer was the only one with read write capability. That old
And
Vio.
and we had MP3 players. So we could
Yeah.
put them on, we could put all of that illegally downloaded music on our MP3 players and listen to it on the go.
Yeah.
What were those called? Rios?
Rios or Neos or yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Pre
Something.
iPods.
Yeah. Pre iPod. They could
Yeah.
hold like 40, 50 songs.
Oh, we had one that could hold up to 250 songs.
Eventually. Yeah.
Eventually, yes. Or I remember recording on tapes, like cassette tapes. The radio would play and you had to hit record right and you had to have it in the exact spot and then you could make your mixtapes. I was at the end of that, but it was cool. We did it.
Yeah. I definitely remember burning lots of CDs.
Oh, yeah.
I had 8-track tapes, and we had to buy a special device to put it in my Mustang so that I could actually play them because all I had was an AM/FM radio in the car. So I had an attached 8-track player.
I was thinking about it just this week. I don't even know if my car has an AM/FM radio in it.
It does.
Hers might not. Mine
It
does.
might not.
I can't imagine that there's not an AM/FM radio.
I have
I
no
can.
idea. I remember not being able to imagine cars not having CD players. And I'm nostalgic for those. I'm like, I want to be able to listen to a CD.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
Yeah.
miss
I have no
owning
interest.
music.
Dad's truck doesn't have a CD player in it,
Oh, yeah.
I
I
don't
know.
think.
My car
Most of them
doesn't.
don't.
And so mine still does because I looked for that. I also drive an old car, but I mean, and every once in a while, there's still a CD being played in my car.
Mhm.
Or you guys grew up with like OnStar or Sirius XM. That
We never
was,
Mhm.
had
I
it.
mean, that was,
You talk about cleaning house, playing records. I remember us cleaning house on Saturday mornings, putting it on the DirecTV music channels. That's what we
yeah,
did. That was our version of that.
Pandora
yeah.
before Pandora.
Oh, yeah. You didn't have any choice. You didn't have any say. You chose the channel and it played the music.
I would have said
Yeah.
that was MTV before MTV,
MTV is not MTV anymore. I was just talking to somebody about that this week.
which is true
There's no
too.
music on MTV anymore.
So just think what the Gen Zs are going to say about y'all in 20 years.
Man, millennials had some bops, and we are hanging on to them as if our lives depend on it. In fact, I'm not 100% sure that they don't.
Oh, I feel like music is getting worse as we go.
Okay,
Like,
now your boomer is showing.
are there occasional bops? Sure, but in general, I feel like music has gone downhill.
I
I
mean, it's all
agree,
going
which
to
is why
K-pop, isn't it?
gosh.
I don't know. I don't listen to
I'm
I
talking
mean,
40.
about the songs that we like were core to our upbringing. Those are the ones that we are hanging on to. We are not staying with the times. We
Yeah,
keep
but
our
that's kind
songs.
of the point that I'm trying to make. These, what, Gen Y and Gen Z, Zennials, whatever, Zoomers, their music sucks.
Yeah.
So, like, what do they have? What are they?
K-pop.
yeah. They
Taylor
might say the
Swift.
same thing about your music too.
I mean, I don't say that about yours.
No
You
way.
say it about mine, but I don't
I
say that
say
about
that about
yours.
rap because I just don't get rap.
Sure, but let me just say, the Backstreet Boys are making an absolute resurgence in 2026, and I am here for every single T-Mobile commercial and reunion tour that they do. Yes, please.
That's so funny.
What were some of the cultural norms when you were growing up, Mom?
I mean, you went to school, you maybe went to college if, there was something, not everybody did, but some people did. I mean, I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. You were expected to get married pretty much after that and have kids. And, my mom never worked while I was growing up until I went to college. And then she got a job because she was going to be bored. That she was great at, but that would have been that would have been in her mid 40s. Sure not. I went to work at 17. I was out of the house at 18. I look back now and think, man, that was stupid. You should have lived off of your parents for a lot longer than you did. But I mean, it was important to me. I mean, I drove before I was 16 years old. I mean, Cole,
Illegally. You drove illegally before you were 16 years old.
I did
I
drive
know.
illegally before I was 16, and I was a dang good driver. I mean, Cole, you didn't get your license right at 16. We have lots of friends and it seemed to be especially girls who did not even want to try to get their license. They weren't interested in it at all. And it wasn't like
Hang
somebody
on.
that was living in Manhattan.
I didn't get my license right at 16, not because I didn't want it, but because I hadn't earned it.
Well,
It's a little different.
but
Put
if
yourself on
if my
blast
parents
there.
had told me no at 16, there would have been a huge blowout. There was no question that I was going to get my license at 16. That was a rite of passage. And so that just happened. But you have a generation of people who weren't even interested in getting their license at
Have you
16.
driven recently? I wouldn't want to have my license either.
Well, I think that's happened in the last, 10 or 15 years. And I swear I have a friend who says it's because we have so many parent taught drivers out there now
Because all
that
their
is
parents are crappy drivers too.
no, because their parents didn't really teach them how to drive.
because they don't know how either.
I know how to drive. I was a good driver. I mean, I really was a good driver, and
Was.
I'm still a good driver.
You said it, not me.
I know. I don't drive as fast as I used to, let's just say that,
So is
or
that
as
where
fast
Callie
as
gets
you
it
do.
from?
It's possible.
Thanks, Cole.
I mean,
Wasn't a
I
compliment.
swear, I
Shut up.
swear y'all got all of my bad habits.
Oh no,
What were
trust me,
the
we got double whammied. We got dads too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What was the economy like when you were getting out of college and going to find a job?
Was it a concern at all?
Right when I got out of college, there was a decline. And so I had gone to school for interior design, which is, one of those industries that takes a hit when finances get a little bit tough. And so it was a little bit harder to find a job because that just wasn't a top industry at the time.
I mean, I feel like at that point in time, and maybe this was a little bit later on, what you had a degree in didn't really matter all that much as long as you had a degree.
I mean, and I've said this before, you could get a degree in basket weaving. The degree opened some doors for you. The fact that you sat through 4 years of college opened those doors. Today, y'all have such distinct degrees that are so focused on certain industries that it's not the same as the college degree. I mean, I have an interior design degree that I barely worked in the industry.
Yeah.
Until 6 months ago, I did exactly what I went to school for, what I went to high
Hmm.
school, and what I went to college for.
Yeah. So
So I feel like a little bit of an outlier. Callie, do you feel like you really closely identify as a millennial?
I think that's a really good question. I would say sometimes absolutely, and sometimes no. I mean, we've talked about it before. I have gone to mom. I had a boss several years ago who would always say, "Millennials just don't want to work. They'd have no work ethic. They don't want to do anything." And I would feel bad taking a day off. Like I worked all of the time, all hours of the day. I was constantly available, and he took advantage of that. I would feel guilty for wanting to take a day off because I needed to go to a funeral or I was going on a trip, whatever it may be. And she would come to me and say, "Callie, you are not the stereotypical millennial. You have got to remember that you are not the stereotypical millennial." Because that is not something that I have. I mean, I definitely relate more towards that kind of dedicated loyalty to a fault to my work and my career and the company that I'm working for, sometimes more so than they deserve, that I watched mom and dad exercise in front of us for all of those years.
I think too, you guys had influence from your grandparents on both sides and even your great grandparents on one side. And I think that generational perspective affected y'all a little bit different than maybe some millennial who hasn't. You live in a much more mobile society where you may not be close to grandparents. I grew up with mine half raising me, and you grew up with two sets on each side. And I think that's unique for y'all. And I think y'all got some perspective out of that makes you lean just a hair boomerish and not completely millennial.
Yeah. Callie, like I think you probably identify as a millennial more than I do, but I've always felt like I was born 500 years too early or 500 years too late. Like I
You're
should have
also
been
on the
marching
tail end,
across
though.
Europe. Yeah. Yeah. I should have been marching across a battlefield in Europe or flying across the galaxy is like where I feel like I should have been. And so there are certainly some aspects of millennialisms that I partake in. But I want to go back here and talk about work ethic because I know a lot of millennials that are fantastic workers. I think there's an issue with we don't feel like we're appreciated for that work ethic. And if we're not going to put forward the effort. Because if you want me to
Yes.
come in and work my ass off for $8 an hour, no, I'm good. Like, I'm not going to worry about taking a day off. If you fire me, I can go find another $8 an hour job.
And see, I don't think as a boomer we were quite aware of chasing that dollar as much as you guys are. You guys recognize, oh, this is an $8 an hour job. This is a, 16-hour job, or this is and I think you have a couple of expectations sometimes that you think you can graduate college and go into $100,000 job.
Not
And
with a
that's not
degree in
always
underwater
true.
basket weaving, though. That's the misconception, but that's not
Yeah.
reality anymore.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think and that kind of mindset that you're talking about, Mom, is something that I'm actively working on. Like, I can sit here and look at my resume and go, "Oh, I was there for just under 2 years. I was there for 2 years, and then I moved." Like, "Oh gosh, they're gonna look at me so poorly." And I brought this up to somebody in a job interview not too long ago, and they were like, "Callie, that is what your generation does. You were there and you stayed and you don't have big gaps in your resume. I'm not worried about this."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay.
I can
I can handle
remember
that."
though doing, looking for employees and reviewing resumes. And if I saw 2 year, multiple 2 years, then I thought, oh, this person, you know, can't stay. I don't want this person. I'm looking for somebody who's going to stay for a while. Today, if I saw that same resume, it would not, it wouldn't appear the same to me, because again, you guys, you are much more mobile than my generation was job wise.
I feel like for boomers, work was a badge of honor. For
It was
millennials,
an
work is a
identification.
chore.
I
It's
say
something
we
that
work
you
to
just have
live,
to
we don't
do.
live to work.
Yeah.
But my identity came from what I was doing.
Right. You
And
lived to work.
and like I feel like we don't view it that way.
No,
No.
you're much more individual, and you have a much more global perspective than I did. It's just different.
So let's talk about that. So if we want to really sit down and point out some of those differences about the worlds in which we both grew up in, let's talk about kind of some of the strength builders. So for baby boomers, you guys grew up in a very post-war economic expansion. That meant more stability and more opportunity for you. There's so much going on. Everything is so much better now. Let's go. Let's go do it. You had stronger community ties via your neighbors, via churches, via going and being face to face with other people in various aspects of your community. And I think that in many ways, I'm thinking about there's that kind of old adage about you come home when the street lights come on. Like, go do whatever you want. You can just come home when the street lights come on. You guys had much more independence at younger ages. You had less supervision. You had more responsibility, more autonomy for yourselves. You don't see kids out riding their bikes by themselves today, because that's when you get snatched. Like, that's when you get kidnapped, and there's fear around that. Like, there has to be supervision. We have to be watching them. We have to be paying attention. We have to make sure that they're safe at all times. And I think that that is different. But I think that in general, because you didn't have the constant notifications, the constant influx of information from these pocket computers, I think that you had a slower pace of life. You were present in the things that you were present in, and that's just where you were. I mean, we can be anywhere in the world being completely absorbed by something that is thousands of miles away without missing a beat. Everything is
Absolutely.
right there at your fingertips.
I think my world was smaller, certainly less global than what y'all have grown up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when we look at those same kind of pieces for millennials, we grew up in very much a digital revolution. We had unfettered, unlimited access to information, any kind of information at any moment. And I think that that grew on us. I think that we knew what it was like to not have that and then watch it come into everyday life. Whereas I think that Gen Z has never experienced not having access to all of that information all of the time. And so I think that their perspective has to be a lot different than ours. I think that we also, especially millennials, have much more openness, and it's not taboo to talk about mental health, to be concerned for your mental health.
I almost feel like we've taken that too far personally.
I think
Where,
that
like,
it's
instead
really
of work
easy to
being the
say
badge of
that.
honor for us, having a mental health disability is now our badge of honor.
Yeah.
I
Think about how many
Yeah,
of your friends have anxiety.
yeah, yeah.
That doesn't come up in my generation.
I think that it does come up in your generation, but I don't think that you spoke about it. I don't think you knew what it was called.
I don't think it is a pat answer. You guys have some pat answers. Oh, that's my anxiety. Oh, that's my ADHD. Whether you've
Yeah.
been diagnosed or not, you've self-diagnosed or someone has told you that
TikTok
this is it.
diagnosed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I those weren't available to me.
And I'm kinda with
Well, it was
Cole.
taboo to be anxious.
Yeah. Suck it up, buttercup. Get to work.
Now it's an advantage.
I do think when you said it was your badge of honor, Cole, I think that's really true. I think that y'all feel like you have to have something like that or you're not a part of the crowd.
I don't disagree.
Interesting. I think that we have so many more options for anything and everything, whether that is the kind of milk that you prefer, to the job title that you are aspiring to. I think that there was a lot more flexibility in our identity, that we said, "Oh, we can do anything. You can be anything. You can go anywhere. You can accomplish that by any means necessary, like whatever it is that you want." I think that that has also kind of taken root in the way that we have relationships.
What do you
What
mean?
that It's not just 2 partners who are getting together to have kids. You could be We
Mm,
were talking about it the other day, talking about dinks, dual income, no kids. Again, nothing wrong with it, but that's an option. Or you can have polyamory, where you have multiple partners, or, I mean, like, all of these different labels. You can be anything and everything, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with any of them. I'm just saying that there are so many more options today than I think that your generation had. I think that by having all of those options, I think that it is really, really easy to put yourself in a state of paralysis by analysis. Well, I don't know which one is the right one for me, and I don't know which one's going to have the mom talked about it last week, running the numbers, doing the calculations, which one's going to be the best, which one is going to last the longest, and so you're doing all of this work to figure out what might suit you, rather than just trying it and saying, "This is great. I'm having
yeah.
fun with this. I'm enjoying this. I feel
I,
good in
I
this
think
situation."
I could get married or I could be an old spinster.
Yeah, that was it. Can you imagine thinking about having to, or wanting to be a lesbian? Like, "Oh, that
Not that
sounds
I
fun."
don't think that there were lesbians, but it was certainly not as visible
On
or
the
as
table, yeah.
acceptable
Mhm,
as it is today.
mhm, yeah. And again, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with lesbians, but I think that we are, specifically Gen Z, we are watching them not be able to have relationships because, "Well, I could be this, or I could be that, or I could go this way, I could take this path, I could choose this,"
Yeah.
and it's just kind of chaos. And I think that we're watching, especially after the conversation that we had last week, we're watching that fall into their demise. But
So, as a little bit of a left turn here, we talked about the mom, your generation being a generation of independence. I think it's harder for millennials to be independent.
uh
Hmm. I would agree with you.
And I think some of that comes from what Callie is talking about right now, where there's just so much information that we feel like we need input from other people to try and help us make decisions. But I also think that, like, economically speaking, it's extremely difficult for millennial. I still don't own a home. I I have a solid income. I am a different kind of dink, disposable income, no kid. And because of the job that I have right now, yeah, I could probably live by myself. Most millennials can't. They need at least two incomes. Most of the millennials that I know that are single still live with roommates. So
And I think some of that's chosen. I
some of
don't
it
want to be.
is.
Some of it is. Not all of it. I don't
But
want to be alone.
I also think a lot of us can't,
Mhm.
just can't afford it.
I agree.
So I definitely think that in general, millennials are more emotional than the generations that came before us. But mom, do you think that your generation's independence came at the cost of developing emotional connections?
No, I don't think so. Would you give me a little bit more about what you're thinking?
Because you never had to be reliant on other people, or maybe not as much, you never had the need to develop the same level of emotional connection with other people.
I think it was that we just weren't taught that way. I mean, you had your parents, you might have had your grandparents, there might be a best friend there, and that was your sphere of influence. And so,
Right. And that's kind of the product of your environment that we're talking about here. We were forced to develop those emotional connections with the people around us because we needed each other to do anything.
I see what you're saying. And yet, I think your sphere of influence is a lot larger than mine ever was.
Right. And that's kind of exactly what I'm saying. Because there was again a requirement for our generation to develop that sphere, and yours, because you were so independent and were
Hmm.
generally more able to self-sustain. Do you
Yeah.
think that, I guess the question is, do you think that millennials are more emotionally developed than your generation as a result of your generation's intent and ability to be independent, whereas millennials oftentimes had to rely on each other?
I think there's a contributing factor there for millennials and for that independence. I see what you're asking me. I think I'm struggling with the answer of that because as I look at millennials, I don't think of y'all more buried in your phone and not out there having those great relationships like you're talking about. So I'm struggling to answer that because you're making it sound like you have more intense relationships, but those are all electronically built.
I was just sitting here thinking kind of along those same lines, Mom. I think that in many ways we watched those relationships change and evolve, with my air quotes there, because they became more digital, more electronic. You've got your MySpace top 8, and you've got your Facebook friends, and you've got your LinkedIn connections, and I think that it has lent itself to a perception of having these big networks of people that at the end of the day, when shit hits the fan and you need somebody to come help, I think that millennials have fewer people to call to come help. Now, I will also say that as a millennial, I think that you can put out a call on the internet and say, "Hey, I need some encouragement. I need some help." And you can have strangers respond, which in some ways that's super kind and nice and helpful. But I don't think that it has as nearly as much depth in those relationships as the ones that you grew up in. I mean, I think about it now, and Cole, again, I think that you're an outlier here. But Mom, you and Dad both have relationships with people that you went to elementary school, middle school, high school with all of these years later.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that. I
I was
don't.
just, yeah, I was sitting here thinking, you guys know my best friends. You can identify them. You know their personalities because you've met them and spent time with them. I don't necessarily feel like I have the same with your friends
Because
because
I
the
I
think you do
just
for
don't
relationships are
me,
think you're,
different.
but I mean, like, I have one of those.
Yeah.
you have more than that. You keep your friends
Not
in a,
friends that I have been best friends with since grade school.
Well, true.
I've won.
Yeah.
Now, I do have other close friends than just him.
Right. That I don't have that same relationship that you might have with one of my friends.
Sure.
You could see mom's best friend in the grocery store and say, "Hey, Wanda, how are you?" Mom
Yeah.
could
Sure.
see your friend in the grocery store and never know that you two even know each other.
No.
Hell, we went to a bar that you frequent the other day without you and had an entire conversation with this girl that as soon as I said something about who it was, you were like, "Oh, this is her nickname. That's who this is. We go way back." And we're like, "Oh, we had no idea."
I mean, the same thing could have happened to me in your office building or your office building. Like, I know some of the
No.
people that you work. Yes.
Yeah. You would know the bulk of the people that I worked with. You've been around them since you were little.
And on top of that, they would know you, Cole. So they're
Oh,
gonna say,
They
yeah.
would
"Oh,
know me more
hey,
than I know
I'm
them.
so and so," and then you would go, "Oh, yeah, you are. That I completely forgot. How are you? I do
Yeah.
remember you."
I think back to the funeral that we went to where you walked in the door and they knew exactly who you were and you hadn't seen them in 30 years.
Sure. I get that.
I
But
just think,
again, those are people that raised me. My friends didn't raise you.
I know. Yeah.
So it's kind
And
of
maybe
apples and
that's the
oranges
difference.
here.
Yeah.
Maybe. I just think there's a depth and maybe a longevity there. And that may be unique to me because I've spent 25 years with the same people at work, but I just see my relationships different than I see the relationships that you have with people who are important in your life. You didn't have those 25 years of, I mean, I look at people, I can go to a party today with those people and we talk about raising our kids together for the past 30 years and y'all just don't. And so maybe that's just unique to me because I stayed in the same industry for such a long time and y'all don't do that.
I think
I
that
think that
that's
that's
part
certainly
of
a
it.
factor.
But again, I think, Cole, in the grand scheme of things, you're still an outlier here.
I agree.
And I think that that plays a major role into it as well and shifts your perspective to recognize and resonate with what mom's talking about more so than me.
I think
And
that's
is
fair.
he an outlier because he's at the end of that millennial, or is he an outlier because of
I'm just a
perspective?
weirdo.
I think he's just a weirdo. Sorry.
I mean, I can't argue with that one.
But there's nothing wrong with that. It
Yeah,
just is
no,
different than most of us.
Okay.
I would agree.
But I think that you've also got to, especially when you're sitting here talking about millennials and what kind of the world it looks like for us, especially in those young, impressionable years, with the advent of social media, I think that you have an element of constant comparison. This is what's going on. This is what so and so's life looks like. Their life is
Yeah.
so good. My life isn't that good. And it adds to that kind of mental weight and load of carrying
You gotta
just
turn that shit
regular
off.
things.
You gotta be there for the memes. Like, that's the only thing it's really good for.
I don't disagree, but I don't think that everybody in this generation is great at that.
Oh, no. I
Outlier
completely
again.
agree.
We talked about kind of the decision fatigue because of too many options, whether that is partners because, well, they just come up for me on my app. Like I can just keep swiping and keep swiping. Everything's fine. Or
Outlier
the
once again.
career options. We know. The career options. You can be anything. You can have any job. You can in this world or out of it. Go be an astronaut at whatever
Everybody's a
place. And
winner.
everybody's a winner. I mean, there's so many options
Who came up
that
with
I
that?
think is
Because I know that it's affected our generation the most, but who started that? Because it wasn't us.
Charlie Sheen.
No, Charlie Sheen is I'm a winner.
No, it's hashtag winning.
Right, but that's not where participation trophies came from.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I think that that goes back to kind of that same conversation we were having last week. But the millennials are the last generation to have authoritarian parents, to grow up under the rule of authoritarian parents. And so I look around at my generation and everybody's like, oh, you have to be so nice and you can't spank your kids and you can't act like this and you can't tell them no and they will figure it out themselves. You have the helicopter parents and all of this. Like we have to make sure that they're safe and that everything is okay and that their whole upbringing is so nice because our parents were just so mean. And you're like, but hold on, these are tough, hard lessons that they need to learn to be successful, productive adults. And we're watching how that has all played out in
I
the
think
kids
it
of today.
We were talking about this yesterday, and I was talking to my best friend's dad about this yesterday as well. And maybe I'm an outlier here, but one, I don't think authoritarian is the right word.
Thank you.
I'm quoting research. Don't come at me.
Sure, but I'm just saying that I don't think, at least for us, I don't think authoritarian is the right word. There was definitely, okay, Teddy Roosevelt said, speak quietly, but carry a big stick. That doesn't make him authoritarian. That says, hey, there are consequences for your actions. And I think our parents enforced that. I don't think that that was authoritarian.
Thank you,
Was
Boo.
there
I really do
my
appreciate
final
that.
say is final say? Yes, but I don't think that goes far enough to classify it as authoritarian. Were there some parents like that? Probably so. From what I hear mom talk about, I would say that her parents were more authoritarian than our parents were.
My dad was.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. But look at all of the people around us who are raising children. Would you say the same thing is true about them, that their parents were more authoritarian than they are?
Probably. I don't really know that I can say that. Again, probably an outlier here. But the point that I'm trying to get at is I'm really thankful
Oh, yeah.
for the lines that were drawn by you and dad. I'm really thankful for, at the time, what I thought was y'all being hard on me, when in reality it was you just trying to teach me how to be a person. Because I
I
see so many
totally
people
agree.
around me who don't even know how to be a person, who are
Yeah.
completely oblivious to the world around them because they never had lessons taught to them. That doesn't sound very authoritarian to me. That sounds negligent to me.
Okay, now you've got a little Stockholm syndromes going on here too. Like, but at the same time, like that's my point. Like hindsight is 2020, right? So we can now look back and go, oh, this is why our parents were so hard on us. This is why they did it this way. This is why they held us to these standards. And I'm not disagreeing with that part of it, but I do think that what we're seeing now is kids of today, teenagers of today, Gen Z even of today are looking back and going, that's why our parents should have been doing those things.
I wish my parents had been harder on me.
I wish my parents had taught me these lessons. And so now
Yeah.
they're coming up as young adults, not having ever learned any of these lessons that we, again, thought were hard in the moment, but are thankful for after.
Because
And
they were
they're
hard
not
for us
learning
as
them.
kids. But thank God
Yeah,
I didn't have to learn them as an adult.
it's how you grow up. Like that is what becoming an adult is about. You have to learn how to have these hard lessons and how to learn from them and how to become a productive member of society. And so I
I
think that
think
we have so
societally
many
we are failing at that
that's
miserably.
my point. We are not teaching people how to be productive members of society because, oh, it's okay, little buddy,
Everybody's a winner.
because
You've
everybody's a
brought
winner.
up a couple of times about safety and that there was a generation after you that wasn't allowed to play outside, or ride their bikes by themselves, and where my generation was come home when the lights, when the street lights come on. And yet, if you look at the statistics of that, there are very few abducted children. I mean, it's less than 1%. And I'm not saying, I am not downplaying any child that is abducted, but there was a generation that, like you said, helicoptered around their kids because they were so unsafe. But that was a fallacy. It wasn't that they were all unsafe. And I don't know if that is the influence of social media.
I think that's part of it. Just mass media in general. Having
Information.
access to all of that extra information that your parents didn't have.
But look at that though. I mean, you're talking about the information, but the information wasn't valid. It was
That's
just
part of
a
the
tiny
problem.
piece of it.
There's so much information and we don't like it's so difficult for us to tell. I mean, people talk about on the internet all of the time how AI is tricking boomers and AI is tricking all of us all of the
Oh yeah.
time. But again, for this isn't new. We've got this fire hose of information and tiny little droplets of it are relevant, valid information. But we're still standing in the fire hose spray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
I
I
was
think
gonna
you're
bring up
getting information sometimes that doesn't have context.
so that's what I
Well,
was gonna
some of
bring
it's
up,
just
like,
straight up not real.
Yeah.
I think that that's part of it. That's certainly part of it. But because we have access to so much information, literally more information now than at any other time in history ever. So we talked about this many, many episodes ago, talking about food recalls. Listeria in ice cream isn't new. It's just new that you know about it every single time it happens anywhere in the world. Having E. coli on your or salmonella or whatever it all is on your spinach isn't new. There's not more food recalls today than have ever been. They're the same. You just know about them. And so it has started creating this fear factor about all of these
Anyway,
things. You're talking about the abductions in children. Child abductions haven't changed. But at the same time, you hear about every single one of them, and it creates this fear that says, oh, my child's going to be like that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, even though the ones that we're talking about happened over the course of 40 years.
yeah.
But they just recently made the Netflix special about it. So now we're all scared.
I started to say trafficking is a daily conversation.
I'm 38 years old and still worried about getting trafficked. I think
I
that
mean,
I think that the onslaught of information is a humongous, humongous issue factor defining
Hurdle.
moment.
yeah.
Hurdle. Yes. Yes. And I think that that has played into a lot of the delay in some of these milestones that our generation is experiencing. We don't have relationships because we're scared of all of these things, because we can't afford it, because we've run the numbers, because we're doing all of this math and figuring out and analysis by paralysis. Paralysis by analysis. I can never say it right the first time, whatever. But we can't afford homes. We can't do this. We can't do this. We're afraid of all of these things. And we have become this generation of children who we're then passing on that gene to coddle your kids so they don't know that the stove is hot and it's going to hurt if they touch it. You just keep them away. Like they got to learn. Otherwise, they're never going to be able to cook for themselves. They have to be able to cook for themselves. Like, you're not always going to be here to
Why?
feed them.
Robots are going to do it.
They're going to be completely insufficient humans.
Yeah. And this is something that like I have to tell people all of the time. You can tell me how to do it repeatedly. You can tell me over and over, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. I have to do it to understand it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just how it is.
You are a kinetic learner for sure. Always
Yeah.
have been.
And I think that's probably one of the things that like made me and dad's relationship difficult when I was younger is that sometimes he felt like he needed to tell me how something worked and it wasn't enough. I had to figure it out. I had to go through it to actually
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah. I tend to throw people for a loop, especially in like a professional setting. They're like, okay, this is how it is and this is what it is. And I'm like, that's great. But why? Because until I know the
For sure.
why, I got nothing. I cannot follow your thread of logic here. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just don't understand it and will never be able to fish for myself if I don't know and understand the why and do it. I
The
have to do
why.
it.
The why is super important. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I struggle with my job because a lot of times somebody calls in and they're asking for something and I'm just like, why? What do you need this for? But people don't generally take that question very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
No.
it's just
Yeah.
like, all right. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I
guess
asked a
here's
question
the answer that I know how to give you.
I asked a question at work a while ago and I said, "Okay, like I understand the math of this, but why? Why did you multiply it by that?" And the person I was talking to goes, "Callie, this is a really shitty answer, but the answer that I have for you is because." And I was like, that's not good enough. That doesn't work. I don't know
That
what to do
doesn't
with that.
teach you.
That
Yeah.
doesn't teach me. And I refer to myself as the man all of the time. It's like, teach the man to fish. I just need you to teach me to fish. I will be totally and fully capable of doing this by myself, but you have to teach me to fish. Do not do
Yeah.
it for me. Teach me to fish.
Is is that millennial?
I think I'm an
I,
outlier in that.
yeah, I don't think that that's a millennial trait. I think that's a how Callie and I's brains work trait.
Yeah.
So let's jump into those kind of stereotypes. I would love to know, like, I pulled a couple that are givens, quote unquote, for each of our generations. And I want to know if you think that yours are true, false, or you're just being misunderstood. So for boomers, mom, boomers are known for being out of touch. What do you say
Out
to
of
that?
touch with what?
Reality.
Yes.
I don't think I would not classify myself as out of touch.
Who
Would you
would?
classify your immediate peers to be out of touch? Are you an outlier?
Okay, here's where I'm struggling with that question. And that is because of the conversations that I've had with the two of you, I have come to understand that I grew up with a notion of patriotism as one thing and America as one thing. And I'm coming to a realization that that is way
Not reality.
inaccurate. Yeah, not reality. But
Yeah.
as far as is that being out of touch or is that just being taught? I've been programmed differently. I don't think that is being out of touch. So if you ask me about being out of touch with reality, if it's your reality, then you're going to say I am. But with it being my reality, that doesn't sound right to me.
I think that that's the definition of out of touch.
It's your definition of out of touch for somebody.
It's my truth.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about my truth. I don't need you to understand my truth, but I do need you to understand that the government is not always working in your best interest. And
You
I
can
think
love
that
the
you
country
have,
and not love the people leading it.
yeah, I think that you have
You
fought us
can
on that to some extent because of the, for lack of a better phrase here, the brainwashing that took place in your generation.
Yeah.
propagandizing.
But
Yeah,
again,
better.
that only appears out of touch from your perspective.
That doesn't
Right.
appear
But
out
mom,
of
there
touch
are
from the reality of it, though.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
I think that's probably wise.
Okay, baby boomers are workaholics.
I think in a lot of ways they are because they were taught independence and taught get out there and do your job. So I think in a lot of ways, yeah.
That's just what you're supposed to do.
And what else are we going to do? I mean, we're going to
Interesting.
raise
See, I
kids.
think that's where millennials
Get
have
it right.
yeah, I think that's where millennials get it. There are so many things that I can do that are productive that are better than sitting in a
Working.
cubicle for 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And that's someone who sits in a cubicle for 40 hours a week. I mean, I do it in my home office, but
Yeah.
still, like,
But I
if
go
I
back.
had the resources, I would work so much less than I do.
Yeah. But I go back to I feel like I had two options. I could get married or I could be an old maid. And so if my choice is to work, well, dang, I'm going to work really good. I mean, I've got to, if I'm going to be the old maid, I've got to be a great old maid. So yeah, I think it's a lack of options that we didn't have something else
I think it's a
that we were
perceived
programmed
lack
to
of
do.
options personally, but
Yeah.
What's a good spinster look like? A badass spinster. What's that look like?
You travel, uh, you're the favorite of all of your nieces and nephews because you bring presents and you have a life that they've, not seen their
Right.
parents live.
So millennials?
Well, y'all don't bring presents.
Bullshit.
Excuse me? I'm one of
Yeah,
the best
ask Kayla
present
about
takers
that
to
one.
anybody I have who has kids.
Yeah. Your generation of male spinsters were not called funkles.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Nice try. Okay, the last one I have for baby boomers is emotionally closed off.
I think to some degree, yes. And I would love to say that I think it's more men than women, but I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Hmm.
just weren't taught to be open about those emotions.
Push them down.
Do me
We were
next. Do
taught
me
to suck
next.
it.
Okay.
We were taught to suck it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Millennial stereotypes. Millennials are
Oh, I'm going to be the
entitled.
worst for this
Why?
because we've already talked about how much of an outlier I am.
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
then why don't you do me?
Okay. I do think that many millennials have a tendency to be entitled.
I would agree with you.
Um,
I don't think it's all, but that's what a stereotype is, right?
yeah. Millennials are overly sensitive.
I think
I think this
that
is true.
especially you think it is true?
Yeah.
I think when you're looking through it from the lens of a baby boomer, these people who are emotionally closed off, it looks too sensitive. I think that there are plenty of opportunities for that sensitivity to go too far, like you talked about earlier, Cole. But I think that it is we are so much more sensitive and open to other realities, other options than just yes or no, black or white, than baby boomers were, that from their perspective, it is very easy to classify that as overly sensitive. So
And
much more than anything I know, so that's too much.
I just wonder, I mean, I'm thinking about you had more visible, like you say, lesbians or different life choices there. I just
Paths.
wonder if we look at that and think, oh my gosh, and y'all are so used to that variety that you don't think of it as being sensitive because you've been living with this your entire life. And I'm thinking maybe it could be sensitive because I never had that focus before. That was
Yeah.
all hidden.
I kind of agree with mom on this one. And I'm speaking anecdotally, but our generation is so easy to offend,
Mhm.
which is like, again, and I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, you take offense. I don't give it.
Yes.
That's overly sensitive.
Again, I think that there are certainly circumstances where millennials are absolutely, unquestionably oversensitive. And the ones that you were talking about right there, yes, 100% agree. I do not think that that is every millennial all of the time. I think that
Sure.
millennials tend to be more in tune with talking about their emotions and their feelings and like getting to the root cause of them, going to therapy, figuring out how to manage these
I think millennials give much
emotions
too
better.
weight to emotions. I think they prioritize emotions way too much.
That
I
could be
think that
true.
I think that there has to be a balance. I think that we
Sure.
need to
And
do
I think
it
it's
more than
unbalanced.
baby boomers do and less than
Agree.
millennials do.
Agree.
And I don't think that we have found that middle ground. It has been only the pendulum, right? It's all or
Yeah.
nothing, one way or the other.
You
Yeah.
have to recognize that you are having emotions, what those emotions are, and how to respond to them, not allow those emotions to control your actions.
Totally and 100% completely agree. Completely agree.
And I think a lot of this goes back to what we've been talking about, that everybody has to win. This whole participation trophy thing. I didn't win. How dare you? Everyone has to win.
Yeah. I think that
I
that's
think that's a
detrimental
big
to our
part of where it
society and
stems from.
psyches.
Totally agree. All right. Last one here for millennials. Millennials are lazy.
I don't think millennials are lazy. I mean, and hold on, hear me out. I think that you can sit here and look at the rate of which millennials are becoming millionaires more than any other generation faster in their lives. They are accumulating wealth faster than any other group of people in history. And more broadly, I think that it looks very different than what has always been the case, the status quo for how you accomplish those things. And that difference feels lazy. They are doing it from their couches with no makeup on Instagram, becoming influencers. It's not that they're lazy, it's that they don't look like what you expect them to.
You're
Yeah.
working differently than I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
We
think
took
that's a
all
big
of our
part of it.
parents going, work smarter, not harder, and took that to heart and started doing it. And now they're like,
And then they
you're
got
not
mad
working
about it.
hard enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Because
think you've
that
watched
hard work
us.
looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well, I
you've
think
watched us be workaholics and decided that wasn't what you wanted.
We could do it
You know,
differently.
we kept whining about life balance and not having any, and y'all thought, oh, we can do this. And that you did. So
Yeah.
I don't think you're lazy either. I don't think millennials are lazy. They
yeah, I
just
don't
work
think you
different.
can yeah, I don't think you can just generally apply that to the
Yeah.
millennial generation because I
Yeah.
think you're right, Callie. I think it's a lot of work smarter, not harder, which is what we got told to do over and over and over again. And then when
Yeah.
that smarter, not harder looked different, it looked lazy. Are there lazy millennials? Sure.
I think the generation coming up is much lazier than you guys were.
I think it might be a little too early to tell
Yeah,
because,
I think we've got some reliance on them that we need them to get their shit together in order for the world to continue turning.
yeah,
We need them to not be lazy. And I think that they have a whole new way of looking at things that, if harnessed and leveraged, will be very, very beneficial for decades to come.
if you
If
go and listen to
Yes.
interviews with some of like my generation of GWAT veterans talking about the new generation of Zoomers that are enlisting and getting officer commissions, and they're like, these are some of the craziest, most badass soldiers I've ever seen in my entire life. They're so much
Mhm.
different than we are. They're so
Yeah.
much
mm,
smarter and so much more capable.
oh, that's
They're
interesting.
leveraging that. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And certainly they have bones to pick with them. There are things that they
Sure.
do differently than we did that they
Yeah.
struggle with, but then they see them in action and they see how capable they are. And they're like, they're some of the most capable people I've ever seen on the face of this earth.
Interesting. Okay.
It all depends on the lens that you're looking through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Speaking of, let's flip the lens.
Mm.
So we're talking about this from a little bit of a different angle. Boomers being shaped by structure and survival, and millennials growing up in this world of plenty, shaped by uncertainty and information overload because there's just so much that it's impossible to know what is the right thing to do and kind of getting stuck. So these things that we've talked about, like boomers being workaholics, being emotionally
Stunted.
stunted relative to millennials, are those things flaws or are they adaptations?
I think they're
Honestly, I
both.
think it's both. Yeah.
I think that, again, I'm going to go back to the pendulum. I'm always going to go back to the pendulum because I think that we as human beings, we collectively, all of us in all of these generations, I think that we're not very good at riding the center. I think that we tend to lean too far into something before we recognize and go, oh, this was way too far.
Grass is always greener, baby.
The grass will always be greener. And so I think that we tend to go too far on anything before we recognize that it should have stopped a little while ago. And then we tend to overcorrect to get back there. And so we end up just ping ponging back and forth on that pendulum. And so I think that that's why I hope that Gen Z can come up and Gen Alpha even can come up and say, okay, we're going to take the best of baby boomers. We're going to take the best of the greatest generation. We're going to take the best of millennials and we're going to do it our own way. better.
I hope that's what they're doing because I think
I
that's one of
hope
the
it
things
is.
that our generation failed at the most was
I
taking
agree.
the good parts about the previous generations. We were so stuck on doing it our own way
Hmm. Yeah,
that we didn't pick up the good things that like
we
we were
skipped it.
so adamant about refusing the bad parts that
Yeah.
we left the good parts behind too.
Yeah, we had a rebellion that just went crazy, and it could have been, again, harnessed into the good, and I
Yeah.
don't think we did a great job. I agree with you.
I have this
Um,
idea in my head that if you take your greatest strength, that it's really on, a bar,
a
think
spectrum.
of abacus type thing, that that can be your greatest weakness and your greatest strength at the same time. And that's what I think you guys are talking about. And that, I mean, maybe I was closed off, but I had more privacy. So there are just things there that it runs back and forth on that bar of good or bad and isn't static at all. It's always in movement.
I agree.
It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting
Mhm.
concept. Y'all ready for a
So,
weird thought?
I was gonna say, let's get out of interesting and get into the weird.
Who the heck steals 12 tons of Kit Kat bars?
12 tons?
12 tons.
24,000
413
pounds.
yeah. 413,793 Kit Kat bars.
Oh my goodness.
Well, obviously, it's somebody who really likes Kit Kats.
I mean,
They needed
I
a
guess
break
they
today.
really needed a break.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I saw this
An entire
this
semi.
yeah, I saw a headline pop up on my news feed yesterday. There's a Nestle manufacturing or production facility in central Italy that was shipping a truckload of Kit Kat bars shaped like Formula One cars, if I understand right, to Poland for distribution. And somewhere between Italy and Poland, that truck has disappeared with 12 tons of Kit Kat bar. I mean, do you think maybe they were thinking it was something else and just jacked a truck and then they opened it up later and they're like, what are we going to do with 12 tons of chocolate and wafer? Or do you think they like specifically stole 400,000 chocolate bars?
I mean, there's a market for stolen goods like that.
I wonder if
So
that's like a memorabilia thing, though, if they're shaped like F1 cars, if they were like, "Oh, we're gonna go steal those Kit Kats. We
They're
love
Kit
F1,
Kat
let's go get
bars.
them."
What? Then
it
why
was
not just go to the store and get some F1 Kit Kat cars for your collection? Why do you need to steal
because
half a
that's what,
million of them?
how much money is that though? You couldn't,
Production costs are roughly 160,000. MSRP a little over $750,000 US.
that's why you don't
I
go to
feel
the
like
store
there
and buy
are
that.
much more, but again, like how much are you
Lucrative.
going to lose trying to fence that?
But here's my thing,
Nobody's going to
and I
buy them
say
from you at
this,
MSRP.
nobody
No,
is. But
no.
you are going to be the Easter hero next weekend,
Oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought about that.
and you get a Kit Kat, and you get a Kit Kat. Everybody gets Kit Kats.
But just think about this when the parents see those Easter baskets come home and they've got Formula One Kit Kats in them, they're thinking, we got hot chocolate here. You want a
Give me
good
a
news
good news
story?
story. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we have a new member to our family. His name is Augustus Ruger Trueblood, aka Augie. Augie was adopted as National Pet Adoption Weekend. And so because I lost my dog about a year and a half ago and have been desperate to have one, my children colluded and we went shopping for a dog yesterday. And I'm sure it was difficult because I had very little criteria. I want a
Yes.
dog.
Furry.
I don't care if it's male or female. I don't care about the breed. I would like for him to be potty trained and I don't want him to bark a lot. And I would say after this morning, I think we did really well. We got Augie and I just want to commend we went through Operation Kindness, and man, they have this down to a science. We walked in late. I mean, probably after 5 o'clock. And we got to visit with 2 different dogs. They cleaned the whole place up in between dogs. I mean, that part in itself was amazing. They sterilized the whole room, brought a new dog in. They had his complete history available for you. They read it all out. Hey, he saw the doctor on this day, and he did this on this day, and he did this on this day. And you had a whole history. They are very
Behavioral
good with
observations, everything.
Yeah, they apparently have a really good foster program so that you get news from that foster family. This is a really sweet dog. He works well with other dogs. He works well with this age group of kids. And I mean, we walked out a little after 7 o'clock with a very sweet new puppy that I'm just thrilled with. And with that dog, they sent home a bag, and it's got food in it and toys in it, and they had a harness and a leash ready to go because I'd forgotten to take a leash with me. They had full medical history of this dog printed out and ready to go. Discounts. Hey, if you want to go to our vet, here's a discount for this. If you want to do this, here's a discount for that. I have to commend the brand is Cuddly, and they are supplying Operation Kindness with food for all of their deals. And if you buy Cuddly food, it goes towards supporting more.
It's like Tom's shoes, but for shelter animals.
Pets. Yeah.
Yes, it was really an amazing experience. It was hard because I didn't have enough criteria, and my kids were kind of oddly quiet about the whole thing, waiting for me, I think, to make bad decisions.
We
No,
tried
not
to
our
make sure you
dog.
weren't making bad ones.
We were just the guardrails.
Yes.
They were, yeah, because I might go into the gutter every once in a while like a bowling ball.
Give them all to me.
I mean,
we were trying to steer you away from bad decisions while not telling you what the good ones were, because you're an adult.
So
And
just to
you
tell
can
you,
determine good decisions yourself.
Yes.
Augie got us up at 5:30 this morning to go outside to pee. He got us up at 6:30 this morning to play. He has already laid down and taken a nap. He's played in the sprinkler system with my husband this morning. He's had a great morning, and he's been a great little puppy. So, Melissa, thanks for your patience and help the 6 other families that she helped yesterday to adopt a dog. It was really, I can't tell you how great of an experience it was to go through Operation Kindness. It was good.
Everybody was kind and polite and knowledgeable.
Organized and clean and helpful.
Excited to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. It was
We'll
it
put
was
a
really
link
cool.
to them in the show notes. And if you're in the DFW area looking for a new furry friend, they have cats and dogs. And we were super impressed with the process.
Yeah. They just did a really great job. And he's cute.
And he's really cute. I'll put a picture of him on social
adorable.
media.
That'd be great. Love you guys.
Love you
Love you
guys.
too.